I'm Josiah.
And I'm Adam.
We are Salida Gun Shop. Today we get to welcome P.T. Wood, former mayor of Salida, distiller, now county commissioner. You're in your third year?
I've been there 2.5 years.
2.5? Okay, so yeah, we're rocking.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I know we've talked, outside the shop, in the shop, and I wanted to bring you on just to kind of go through the struggles that you saw as a mayor, the accomplishments that you've kind of been able to do, and just kind of get your perspective on what you think the county can expect while you're commissioner and beyond, and then just kind of get your feedback on what you think this community really needs and what we've gotten so far. So cool. I really appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. It's one of my favorite shops in town. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So originally, I read an article that said you wanted to be part of a change maker, right? So previous mayor, prior to you running, what did you see in that mayoral candidacy that before you admitted that you wanted to run, sure, that you wanted to change, or that you saw the potential for?
Sure. So I had been on the story goes back a little bit. I'll try and keep it fairly brief, but back in the 2000s, I had wanted to live on the north side of the river there, and so I started to poke around, figured out that the Everett's owned S Mountain, bought S Mountain from them, and tried to do a little development on that. It was incredibly frustrating, really hard, and that pushed me on to getting onto the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay.
And from there, I started to get more involved in the city. A handful of folks had asked me if I'd run for council or mayor, and I was always a hard no. And then we were going through kind of a rough patch as a community where there was just a lot of division, a lot of just not really good government happening, where folks were just kind of fighting with each other and not taking care of the job that needed to be done.
Was that basically like no true vision for the community? Was that kind of the crux of it, or?
Yeah, I think there was maybe a lack of vision, and then maybe a little bit of just trying to do stuff, for a few folks trying to do stuff for themselves and not for the community as much.
Yeah.
And I figured by then I was the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and there was a lot of fighting back and forth where they weren't taking our decisions seriously. And finally I was like, well, if I'm going to be the guy that's complaining the loudest here, I probably should step up and do my part to make some improvements.
Awesome. Okay.
So that was 2016, 15, 16 is when that was really coming to a head. And then I got elected mayor in 2017,
Nice.
or the end of 2017, I guess.
I'm curious because you said you were doing on that north side of the river there, you're trying to do a little development or whatever. Did you run into like when you were talking about planning and zoning and stuff like that? Is that like dealing with like the railroad and like that type of stuff and like, or yes?
So the railroad was super frustrating for sure. But then the city planning department was where I was getting really frustrated, and it wasn't anything that really that they were doing wrong, but I didn't really know what I was doing as a developer, and they weren't being very helpful to walk me through. And I think that's one thing that I've tried to really instill since I've had both the mayor's position and now county commissioner within those staffs is that customer service aspect.
Right.
Like, we work for the folks here, and if someone comes in, let's try and figure out a solution. Even if what they want to do isn't going to be allowed, maybe there's something else that'll make them happy.
I feel like there's a lot of people, like especially right now in the community, that are probably dealing with those things currently, right? That are, I know, locally, like certain people are able to navigate that, right?
Yep.
They know how to navigate that, but then there's others that are new to the community. Maybe they're just starting to build a house, and they just need that person that can just, hey, this is what's going on there.
I've personally had experience with all of that, and it's been so helpful. You know, I was always apprehensive to even get involved in the process itself and just make it somebody else's responsibility. But some of the things fell on me to do, and it was super, I would say easy, but it was understandable. Like, this is the process.
Yeah.
And I can definitely say from talking with other people, it wasn't that way before. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I think in general, government is very rarely customer service oriented. And that's ridiculous. And that's what that leads to, like, a ton of contention and just anger. And, you know, if we're just taking care of the folks and listening to them and trying to help them solve their problem, that makes a huge difference.
You know, we jumped way far ahead because you have a way bigger previous life prior to being the mayor, right?
Well,
So you were local business owner, right?
I've owned a number of local businesses
And
still do.
Yeah. And so let's talk about previous years before even going into the mayor, right?
Sure. Well,
you know, what was your when did you first end up in Salida?
So I moved up here in the summer of '88 was my first summer. I moved up to be a river guide.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a Colorado kid. Born and raised.
Nice.
I was born in Boulder. Grew up there when it was a blue collar town.
Yeah.
Moved to Durango. Went to Fort Lewis in the '80s, and then moved up here. And my first summer was '88. I moved up here year round in '91.
Okay.
And the river brought you here.
Yeah. Yep.
So then you get into river guiding, and then when do you break into your your first business?
So that actually goes all the way back to the '80s.
No way.
So me and my brother in, I think it was 1986, we opened our first business. It was Students for Storage.
Okay.
Where we had this, it was kind of this storage thing for students where we sold them a 30 by 30 by 30 box for $75. They filled it with all their stuff. We picked it up, stored it for the summer, and delivered it to them in the fall.
That's cool.
Like my only really good business idea, and I was too young and distracted to follow through on it.
Yeah, because now there's the pod.
I
and
know,
all the
right?
other
Yeah,
stuff.
like this
Like they invented
multi-billion-dollar business, right? That I
Nice.
just kind of walked away from because I was distracted.
Oh wow!
So,
So 86, you're selling a pod, delivering a pod, and
yeah.
wow.
And then, so we did that, and then my next business was as an independent sales rep for kayaks and kayak accessories, and then and backpacks eventually, and some other gear. And then my kids were born and needed to be around town a little bit, so got out of that. Tried to open a distillery, wasn't happening, so bought Moonlight Pizza.
Okay.
And owned that for a number of years, and finally sold that off, and then went into the distillery business. And I was supplementing the Moonlight Pizza business by building houses with my buddy Mike Reed. So
nice.
Yeah.
So were you like doing the construction or just managing it?
No, doing the construction.
Just
I was
deep in it.
hauling. Yeah, it was two of us, and just me and Mike, and we were doing a lot of remodels, but we were also doing a number of houses from the ground up. So, two guys building a house is that's a fair amount of work.
Yeah. What was it like building back then compared to now that you could see?
It wasn't that much difference actually. Mike and his crew built our house across the river 3 years ago, and I was over there moving boards around and helping out and doing what I could. But it was, it was interesting because we were building during that kind of 2008 to 2011 recession
Okay.
that was going on, and we had a number of kind of long-term jobs that kept us busy through that period. So a lot of guys were hurting, but we were pretty busy. We had a house in St. Elmo, and then this epic, like, multi-year remodel up in Pinion Hills that we did.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
During that time, would you say, just you being here during that time, did Chaffee County see any much of a dip at all during that time, or did it kind of just hover flat?
It hovered, I'd
Yeah.
say. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was the, outdoor stuff was growing at the time.
Yeah.
And so people were starting to look at Chaffee County a lot more kind of in that period and
Yeah.
moving here. And
I've always heard that. I've always
Yeah.
heard that it just kind of like Chaffee has always been this just slow grow.
right up until COVID. And then,
Yeah, wow.
Everybody found
I
Chaffee.
mean, I would say we honestly noticed that
Mhm.
pretty significantly with people that maybe lived on the Front Range that had a second home
Mhm.
here that just finally were like,
yeah,
We're
we're done.
done.
We're up here.
yeah, or they had a, maybe they had a second home, they're from Texas, anywhere, right?
Yep,
It's not just
totally.
one place.
Yep.
There's a lot of people from a lot of different places
Yep.
that just ended up saying, like, you know what, life's too short.
Yep.
It seems like a lot of people end up here because of that.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Want to be able to walk out the front door, look at the mountains.
Greatest place on earth, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there
exactly.
are very
It's
few
her-
places that you can ski in the morning, go on the river and fish in the afternoon, go in the fall, go up, shoot an elk, come back down, catch a trout,
Yeah.
just
We have a lot of snow, though.
Lots of snow.
Lots of snow.
lots of snow, so much snow.
It's really cold.
Yeah. Nice.
That's cool. So then so you have the distillery, and that's kind of moving and grooving,
Mhm.
and then kind of getting into your developer. Would you call it the developer phase, or are you still?
Yeah, no, that was a pretty small window. It was, I really wanted to live on the north side of the river. So we bought that property, and then the city kept saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. And finally, I traded the city S Mountain for a little strip that they owned across the bottom
Yeah.
that I could do what I
Okay.
wanted to. And
Okay.
that was, I think that was actually a really good solution for everybody. They got the kind of the iconic backdrop
Mhm.
under their control, and I got my little strip of paradise where I could live.
So did you manage S Mount, like that whole thing prior to that then? Making sure it was lit up, making sure...
Nope.
No.
No.
Nope. That was, so that happened with Bob Bigelow and some other guys back in the, I think the late 80s,
Okay.
early 90s is when they started doing that.
Cool.
And that was, the Everetts didn't even know or when I talked to Judy, she was like, we don't own S Mountain. And I was like, oh yeah, you do.
For sure.
And so, they owned so much property though that they were not really surprising. And they didn't run any cows up on
yeah.
S Mountain or anything. So
Hmm.
it was kind of just a little peel off piece for them.
Nice.
Did you guys see a lot of a lot of people around that area, like the influx of people as we started to get more into? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's wild to watch the trail use over there. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And then just the folks that are coming out, and a lot of camping that goes on over there in the summertime,
Mhm.
especially Fibark, and then the total chaos that is the north side of the river on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
We're over there trying to keep our houses from burning down.
Yeah.
It
even
gets
think about
wild,
that.
but it's entertaining for
Nice.
sure.
I mean, that's really noticeable in those parking lots during the summertime these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were doing the rock stuff off at S Mountain, and we finally were like, on a Saturday, it's probably not a good idea to go to S Mountain just for parking reasons.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a challenge down there
Mhm.
for sure.
Parking a little bit farther away, rucking to the
Yep.
starting point, and then rucking
then
up
going up.
was like, okay, we were going to do
that
5
works.
miles, now we're doing 7.
Yeah, that's good for you,
Worked
though,
out,
right?
Yeah. It was all
right?
flat, downhill to the river. So yeah,
everybody looked at us like we were kind of a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
But hey,
it was good to get out.
we're just
for sure.
enjoying.
So with kind of jumping into you being mayor, one of the main things was housing, right? So
Yep.
what did you see it was 2, right? 2 terms?
2 terms,
Yep.
yeah.
What did you see progress-wise for housing in Chaffee County that was good for the community?
So one thing that we did that came out of the Three Rivers development was the original inclusionary housing ordinance that required some affordable housing within new developments. I think I liked the original version that we did with when we worked really closely with the Three Rivers, Two Rivers developers especially, to formulate an ordinance there that worked for the developers and helped improve our housing situation. And then we were part of of getting the housing authority started. And I think that's been kind of fits and starts, but I think they're getting there. And I think we're starting to see some good housing options come out of that. I don't know that it's quite enough yet, but we're also seeing a big increase in just the general inventory of housing, which should have a moderating effect overall on the price of housing.
So the whole process wasn't like one and done, this is the solution. This is continuing through because of the groundwork that you guys put through in those 2 terms. And kind of, do you feel yourself in the commissioner role helping out with that, or is it kind of on its own tracks at this point?
Yeah, no, I think that's an important part of what we do as the county, is help to move those affordable housing options forward, keep the housing authority functioning, and then work with the municipalities on their development, and especially on the periphery of the towns. So.
Would you say that was probably one of the keystone pieces that you would take away from being a mayor, or is there something else?
I would say that was a really important part. I think the thing I was probably most proud of was getting the city to a point where it actually where our meetings were places people could come and share their thoughts and get positive action.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So you kind of open it up so it's not as intimidating. It's not as, I don't know, cloudy or shady or what people might, think of the government the way, it could have been, I guess. Yeah. Right.
Well, and hopefully take action on what folks say, and whether that's, whether that is actually doing something about what they're bringing up, or being able to explain to them why we can't do what they're wanting.
Okay, nice. What would you say would be maybe even a broader vision for the county that you saw going into the county commissioner position from mayor, that you thought, I can't do this as a mayor, or I can't help, but I can on the county commissioner side of things, that you decided?
Yeah, sure. So I think the county is in a lot of ways, a much more complex thing than the municipalities.
Yeah.
The municipalities are complex, but the county's got a lot of things where we run the landfill, then we're also the health department, and then we're the Board of Human Services, and we make sure that the sheriff has enough money to do his job, and we run the jail, and we run the courts, and there's just this mountain of responsibilities there that make it super interesting. I think, and I know there are probably quite a few folks that maybe don't agree with me, but hopefully we'll get there with them. But one of the most important things that we can do as a county commission is help preserve the county in a way that the folks that live here want it to be preserved.
Okay.
So, and a big part of that is one, taking care of our 83% of the county that is public lands, and making sure that that remains accessible and usable for everybody. There are so many different ways to go out and use those public lands, and they're not always copacetic, but our job is to help folks find a path to do what they want to do in those places and make space for everybody. But then also help our ranchers stay in business and help our ag stay in business. That's one of the most challenging businesses there is right now. I think between me being in the distillery and you guys in the gun business, we're in the most regulated businesses on earth. But the ag is the most challenging business there is. They are just facing constant headwinds from all directions. And so we're working really hard on that ag resiliency piece and helping those guys stay in business and helping, make it an attractive business so the kids want to stay there and keep ranching so that those ranches stay generational. And, we can, the biggest benefit that, we have is we get to drive down the highway and see green open spaces. And, and that is, to me, a huge benefit, right?
This after development, kind of having that balance between housing as well as, providing for those ranchers that are going to be generational, continue with the 5th, the 6th, the 7th generation down the road.
And as a guy that grew up in Colorado, especially when you go down to the Front Range and it's all of a sudden a big city from Colorado Springs to Fort Collins, and my buddy Mike's ranch north of Boulder that his grandparents and his grandparents had is no longer a ranch. It's open space and houses. Like the upper part's open space and the rest is houses, and it breaks my heart.
I'm curious because there was an article recently that came out that you guys went out to the Hill Ranch. The old Hill Ranch, I guess you could say, to see can you call it reclamation?
Yeah, it's a dry up reclamation.
I live out that way. The water guns definitely help, and it's very noticeable where they're placed and how that piece is played out. What did you think about that? Like, what are they so do they call it like a green up, or I know they're trying to bring back native, right?
That's the goal.
And it seems like it kind of works, and just depends on how much water.
It's a challenge, and so part of what they do is they go out. It's a multi-stage thing. So there's a new area there on the east side of the highway that they're working on. And I think the phase where they're at right now is they go water it, get the weeds going, and then they get rid of the weeds, and then they bring in the native grasses. And that requires about 3 years of irrigation to establish those native plants. And then once they're established, they can step away from it. And if you go out there right now, it's pretty stark. You can see on the west side of the highway, it's pretty gray and brown. That's actually, for the most part, some pretty healthy native grasses. And they're doing what they're supposed to do in the middle of a drought, is kind of just sit there and then a little water on them, they'll green up. One of the biggest challenges on the west side of the river are these big areas of peat. So after 100 years of irrigation, all that plant matter just matting down and turning into, just composting. Native grasses won't grow on that. And once it dries up, it becomes hydrophobic, so it doesn't absorb any water, and so nothing can grow on it. So then they have to go in and tear that out down to just a few inches so that those new plants, the roots can actually get through it and get down to the sandier soil below.
So they actually have a whole process for that over the course of that 3 years to bring that native back.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was
I imagine it's a multi, like, right? 10, 15-year
it's been
project
going
at
on
least.
forever, and
Yeah.
they're committed. This phase is through 2035, and then it could go on in perpetuity. And that's so that the Hillwater was bought by a water broker in the 80s,
Yep.
and then sold to Pueblo West in the 90s, or I think. And so it's Pueblo West that is doing all that work, and
then that's laid the groundwork for Colorado, right? Like that example right there that occurred has laid the groundwork for other water rights and to keep ranchlands watered,
or at least define a path towards dry up.
Yep.
So when that first happened and they first dried it up, the thought was, okay, we just got to go in and kill all the plants so nothing's using the water. All that did was make a giant dust bowl and start killing off McMurray's cows because they were breathing all that dust, right? Yeah. So it's taken a long time to get back to where we are now, and it's going to take a long time to even reestablish all of it appropriately.
But definitely could avoid that. I'll call it what it is, catastrophe.
Yeah.
For other places.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, like, you know, as we talk about, like, Chaffee County and its whole, we look out, we see a lot of ranch lands. We want to see the continuation of generations of people to continue on that and maybe not have so many developers in a, you know, buy up the Wilson property and that type of thing, right? Like, things like that. Which is, you know, live and learn. That's where we're at.
For sure.
You know, I think the big thing people don't see during the summertime, you know, they might see the dead grassland now, but like in the wintertime, there's thousands of elk in there. You know? And honestly, it feeds quite a few. I mean, I'd be interested to see what CPW says because I know they have a lot of collars on the elk right there.
Yeah.
But
and we're you know, with the elk and the other ungulates, we're working with the land board. We've been talking with them about some of the larger open pieces of land that they own, particularly up around BV, and how do we preserve that for conservation. So CPW, especially at Maximal Park, they have a land lease for hunting on that property. But there are some other designs on that property, some folks that want to do some geothermal and some other stuff. And it's, if you look at that, there's a kind of a dip where there's a bunch of trees and stuff growing down there. And that's a major corridor for especially the elk, but elk, deer, moose, all of that will come down through there to get to the river. And that's why, you know, one of the reasons that wildlife fencing became a priority for CDOT was because that is such a major wildlife corridor through there.
It's not just elk, but a majority of,
Wow. And so we're talking with the land board, and we're trying to figure out how we can be more of a conduit for some of that conservation and protecting some of the unique landscapes that we have at the bottom of the valley. You know, the mountains are all public lands, but there are some important and unique landscapes at the bottom of the valley too that need some protection, I think.
Absolutely.
So really kind of looking at that generational capability going forward with those properties so that it's lucrative, right? So it might not be as lucrative right now as it's going to be in the next 5 years, but there's at least a pinhole of hope that, you know, that next generation can say, this is something that we can continue doing. It's not something that we just need to cut bait and let a developer swoop in and take it over. So
and within the new land use code, we did a lot of work to open up new ways for active working ag lands to monetize their properties, and be that more weddings or events, or being able to put in a feed store and open it on their property, or have guided hunting more easily on there. Whatever it is, we made that a much, much easier process than it has been in the past.
Good.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is really good.
So there's 3 commissioners.
Yep.
Is that enough for this, the way our county is designed?
That's Colorado law. That's what it says. Yep. I think it's a good number, and it's with the exception of some of the larger counties. I think it's 600,000 or something like that. Then you have 5.
Okay.
And then a couple of home rule counties that have decided to have 5. It's what all the other counties have, and it seems to work okay.
It seems like you 3 really do kind of work well together, coming from different aspects of life. The most recent incident we had with the fire up north, there was a lot of, I think, positive feedback from you guys being present, understanding the process. And did you see anything that the county can do to help with something like that in the future, or to help mitigate that, or to help the process for incident command and getting the right resources to them?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot about, lessons we had probably learned during the Decker fire, but maybe had faded over the years. Just about coordination, communication. We're like, oh yeah, we have to make sure we know which coffee shop opens at 6 a.m. so we can get coffee up to the guys for the morning briefing. How do we get a mess of breakfast burritos up there to the guys for their morning briefing? Because that's, it's kind of the one moment where all the folks working on a fire are just standing there, and they want to have something to eat, they want to have something to drink, and so we had some struggles around that, but we got it done, but some struggles around that. The communication stuff, I think we've come up with a solution, but that was like, oh yeah, Forest Service is on UHF, and everybody else is on digital. So how do we bridge that divide and make sure that there's ways to talk? And we got super lucky on that fire.
The weather has been very, very nice to us in the last 2.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah. And the one that La Plata fire that they just pulled out of, it's just a cleanup crew up there now. Had that gotten any bigger, that terrain was so rough that it was really going to cause some problems. And, being in that deep, steep valley there made it really hard to fly, and all the things that really compound the difficulties of fighting fires. So we were really lucky to get that rain come in and help set that down. And so
nice.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of good positive feedback from your guys' involvement all across the board. So it's really nice to hear.
Good. Yeah, it is.
Does that do those fires, does that set a precedent of where I would say forestry management in the county? Like, it seems like that's been kind of a top talked about topic, I guess you could say. And think now, like after a couple fires, is it even more so, would you say?
Yeah, I think it remains top of mind, and one of the main things that we continue to work on is making sure that we don't have that massive, devastating wildfire. And particularly that we don't have one that runs through a community, which would be, we lost 2 houses up at the Mount View fire, and that was tragic. Imagine losing, 50 or 100 houses would be just devastating.
I mean, as the crow flies, honestly, that thing runs to Frenchman's and then over, and next thing you know, you got 3 Oak and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I get it. People want to live in the forest, but boy,
it takes a little work.
Yeah.
That's why that, I think those Chaffee County Fire Protection has a pretty good, program going on with helping out with clearing out space and
The Chaffee Chips program is
Mhm.
pretty good.
yep.
Yeah, a lot of places around the state are looking at those programs and trying to emulate them. So
Chaffee's
that makes
really,
you feel pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Chaffee County is really on the precipice of a lot of things
Yeah.
at this point. So
I think so.
does it come down to funding from a federal level for a lot of the fire or anything else in the county that we might be lacking or
Yeah, we'll know in sometime next year, I guess. But I think we have a formula pretty well figured out for that. Funding's always an issue, and it's always hard to find enough money to do stuff. The county, anyways, has always been really fiscally conservative, and we're set up to weather most financial storms. So we're feeling pretty good about it. I think the city of Salida is struggling a little bit because of the cost of the firehouse. Really kind of took a huge chunk out of the discretionary money, and I think maybe the tax rolls didn't grow quite as fast as maybe they had maybe looked like they would coming out of COVID, when everybody in the country seemed like was coming to Salida. We were like the safest town on earth or something. I don't know, but I was at my business. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy and unsustainable. But every day was a Saturday.
Yeah. New faces every day, not the ritualistic, everybody coming in.
It was pretty wild,
Yeah.
But
Wow.
that's what it is.
Have you seen a lot of the numbers from this year? Like, has anybody come out with anything recently in visitors to Chaffee County?
Yeah, we have the sales tax receipts through June, I think, right now, and generally increases.
Okay.
The core tourism season is kind of July through the middle of August. I mean, I don't know that we know those numbers. Just anecdotally, it seems like downtown has been really busy all the time.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And, that's not scientific though.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I feel like
it's felt that way.
I feel like Buena Vista is going bonkers.
Yeah, every time I'm there, I'm like, holy cow, try and get into the roastery for a little something. I'm like, holy cow, line out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you spend much time in BV outside of work or anything, or is it, Yeah.
I like to go up there.
Yeah.
And then my wife's sister and her husband, they have a cabin up there.
Okay.
So we got a place to stay. So we'll go up there.
Nice.
It can be a little cooler up there at
A little bit,
times
yeah.
too, on some of those super steamy summer days.
It's just far enough away. It kind of seems like a mini vacation, but it's also so close for as a resource for an extra outlet, different restaurants and stuff. It's kind of nice to have that in our community where you're not having to go through a pass or go through the canyon or something like that to be able to just be there in another very nice, beautiful place.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Good.
How about you guys? Was the summer good?
Summer was good. A lot of
Based on my ammo buy, it must have been good.
In the industry itself, we saw a lot of dealers kind of fall off. We'll see how those numbers turn out. Who decides to stay in the state with the firearms dealer division, stuff like that, permitting, and they've started their visits now. So in addition to the ATF, we have the firearms dealer division doing their visits now too. So haven't quite made it to our neck of the woods yet, but we've heard reports on the Front Range. The 5 employees are starting to, go out and visit.
Lovely, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
It's good. But, I mean, it always seems like it's busy every time I ride by or look in. And,
during COVID, we saw kind of the same thing you did. We saw a lot of new faces, and we're trying to keep with that, that customer service, make sure that everybody has a positive experience. Having, great staff, is tough, but also we're very lucky to have the knowledgeable people that we have working, and just trying to make sure that everybody has that, recreate that positive experience.
Yeah,
and
it's been my experience for sure.
Good. Thank you.
But I wonder, so I don't interview you guys now, but curious because our regulating body, the TTB, is one that our industry spends a lot of time building relationships with. And you guys have that same with the ATF?
No.
No.
So we're coming out of a period of zero tolerance. And zero tolerance means that if you didn't dot your I and cross your T, that was an infraction.
Right.
We have come into now a period of better understanding and better, I would say, and we haven't experienced it, but we don't live or we don't operate a business that lives in what ifs or whatever. It's just
That's what you do.
this is what it is, right? Like you know, you have your driver's license, it's not expired, like all those types of things, right? Where we are now with the firearms dealer division is the head of that came from alcohol and tobacco.
Okay.
So she explained that from the get-go. That has much changed. There's a lot of uncertainty because the communication channels are so it's very I'll call it laissez-faire / they don't know what they're doing, right? So there's already a body that controls us, right? Like everybody adheres to ATF federal law. Now you have this other body that's now going to recreate what's already there.
And that's at the state level?
That's at the state level. And they really don't know what ATF is already doing, the lack of communication there. I mean, I'll say it. I am part owner of this business, and getting approved for fingerprints and all that stuff has taken 3 months. It's kind of crazy in my right. Like, there's 2 responsible parties on our FFL. It's him and I. Those 2 people have already gone through
the whole
every background check, everything you could think of. Previous life I've done multiple background checks, multiple suppressors, like things like that. It doesn't make sense to me why, when we send in the information, that it's not like, oh, this is Adam.
There it is. It's happened.
Here, boom. Linked.
Right.
So I would say it's created a lot of uncertainty in the industry in Colorado. Right. So you have, prior to FDD, you have 2,200 FFLs in Colorado. There are 900 approved FFLs in the state of Colorado currently. They don't have a list of those approved FFLs.
They were utilizing the FDD sits underneath the Department of Revenue. They were employing or requesting Department of Revenue employees to call FFLs that are listed as an ATF, Form 1 holder, or not Form 1, but an O1 holder, O2, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8, 9s, all those. And we're an O1 and O7. Well, we have to register our O7 if we dispose of firearms on 4473. O1 is the only one that does that. So we can manufacture and move those to our O1 and then dispose. But the ATF knows this, but having that communication, the state doesn't. So there's been a lot of other dealers that have had multiple conversations like, yes, I'm an 07, but I don't do any forward-facing communication, but they're back and forth on what the regulation is in all of the work groups. And we did work groups from October of last year all the way through to March, April maybe. And a lot of it was just going through what the state had basically created as a list of, and us trying to define what that is. And it wasn't a lot of back and forth. It was literally like, well, this is what it says, and this is what we have to do. Well, that doesn't make sense because this is how the ATF. So the rule book is still kind of thick, but doesn't make a lot of sense. So a lot of the FFLs that haven't registered with the state have either left, have let it expire. So we've got counties, which we've talked about before, that don't even have an FFL close. So that hurts rural communities more than it does the Front
Everyone
Range.
else, sure.
So we're just hoping that we can continue to be a draw, even though we're in a community that is always bringing people in for other things, that
Sure.
we can be something that can help the community, have that tourism aspect of it, but also be there for those ranchers or for those people that are remote and have a location if other FFLs have to drop off because they can't, maintain a state level permitting. So
that's that government customer service piece right there, right? Just not happening for you guys. Yeah.
I think one of the bigger things that I would say is that what came out of it from what I was thinking was educating legislators, right? Just having not right or left, not this and that. It's literally just hey, this is how this operates. Hey, this is what this is. No, this is not an assassin's device. This is what this is. This is, these types of things. I think for the most part, we're all just common everyday people that want to go have fun, go to our public range, do that stuff, shoot competitions, hunt, do all that stuff. And it's there's a lot of call it bureaucracy that gets involved, and it's these are just regular everyday people.
Right. Yeah.
It's
almost a pitting of, different, groups against themselves. Yeah. What we've seen from this actually has been a lot of the FFLs we've created a Colorado Federal Firearms License Association. So we've got members now to basically create a group for better communication, for understanding. So that's a major positive that we've actually been able to create, because I still look at them as competitors, but I also look at them as hey, I want them to be successful. I don't want them to go out of business because of the freedom, the ability to run your business. If you run your business poorly, okay, that's one reason. But if you're regulated to death, it's hard to say you deserved it. No. So I think with the CFFLA and the ability to meet and have a common theme helps us in our industry, and hopefully we see that throughout Colorado with the public lands up for sale, or the loss of public lands that you mentioned, right? And a lot of what I saw, kind of segueing into that, there's a lot of public land in Chaffee County that is just right outside somebody's doorstep that we're not going to have again if that sale goes through.
Totally.
So have you seen the total amount of acreage possible that we would lose in Chaffee County yet?
No, and I think it's almost impossible to say. There is a BLM disposal list that's out there, but it's negligible in the county here, and pieces that I don't think anybody would get too upset about.
Does that affect funding at all or anything like that?
No.
Okay. I was curious if there was a tertiary effect. I'm glad you asked that, because if you don't have enough public access or other funds, that would be stripped away. So that's nice to hear that we won't lose anything for a county, but other than the land.
Other than land.
Yeah.
And I think and I'm really not that worried about that. I think we are adding a new zone into our land use code that will cover all the Forest Service and BLM lands, that will make them undevelopable even if they did get sold, and would still allow for public access to those lands. So it would kind of nullify any of that. But that's just Chaffee County, right? And we all use public lands all over the state and the West.
It's nice to see that, though. It has to be, I don't want to call it a grassroots initiative, but it has to be on a small level. That way it can grow to a national level, so that you can see, just again, like you've brought up, Chaffee County's on the leading edge of a lot of different things. Maybe we can be an example for another county or another state. This is how it was done by use code, or that's something I guess looks interesting to look at. It what will somebody else kind of look over the fence and say, okay, well, they're doing it this way. They saved their land or their access to it.
And certainly all the commissioners, we talk regularly. We have our commissioner organizations, and we get together and visit about all this stuff. So At least in Colorado, it's a pretty cohesive group, and the commissioners are largely rural commissioners. That most of the population lives on the Front Range,
Right.
but most of the property is rural out. So I think we get to be that that group of real rural champions at the Capitol.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a big deal right now. I mean, honestly, we saw that with a lot of the stuff that got voted on recently, more recently, is that, your Front Range or maybe in a couple cities really outweigh
They do.
the rural way of life slash, I would say what Chaffee County is, right? It's there's so many people that like have been here for generations, and you have newcomers that want a certain way of life. So it changes the landscape really quickly, really quickly.
Yeah, and you don't. There's oftentimes blind spots from probably go both directions, but I think particularly we've seen that the last few years from the governor's office, where he's kind of just focused on his world and isn't really great at listening outside. And I think that his whatever meat-free Friday thing that he tried to do a couple of years was just so tone deaf and just not understanding where he lives or who Colorado is, and so
that's an interesting conversation. Is that Salida, Chaffee County is a pool of people that come from many different backgrounds, but all enjoy the same stuff.
Right.
Maybe not with the same tools, right? But all love like to hit a trail, to go out into the forest, in certain different times of the year maybe or whatnot. But hey,
totally,
we're all doing the same stuff, but some are
just different tools. I love that. Different tools. That's perfect. And I think that's kind of the base for a lot of discussions a lot of times is what's that common ground. Let's talk about how awesome the mountains are, and not if you get upset because there's hunting going on, or if someone's motorcycle's too loud or whatever, I'm a big mountain biker as well, and so I get it sometimes, and you're charging down the trail and you get overtaken by a ATV or something. It can be it can kind of set you off a little bit, but you got to take a breath and be like, they're just out here enjoying it as well. So
it's not here to hurt me, hopefully, right? What I know, there's been some new signage out there because of the introduction of e-bikes and the instruction on that. So I think the use case that you see out there is it covers everything from equine to pedal bikes, e-bikes, motorized. I think kind of being categorized together, the e-bikes, and you have your 2-track, and you have your access roads and stuff like that. Have we seen, and since you've been here, a decrease in the access in the county? Or has it stayed pretty the same?
I think it's been pretty consistent. And I think we're lucky here in that the motorized guys, especially the motorcycle guys, have always been really big trail advocates and do a lot of work on the trails. Nice. So I think the non-motorized guys are like, they're our partners. They're our, they're folks that contribute to us being able to go out and do their stuff. I think there's more conflicts with the ATVs, side-by-sides, and those. But I think that, in a lot of ways, is a result of this disconnected and not well thought out pattern of use for them. So you can go out on most of the Forest Service roads and use those, but you can't on most of the county roads. And sometimes, the place you want to get to where you can use it, there'll be a brief piece where there isn't a connection.
Yeah.
And so those things create illegal activity out of necessity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just because there isn't a well thought out plan. And so I've been trying to drive this discussion forward, and it's a total can of worms that I'm a little scared to open up, but there needs to be, thoughtful. And,
I love where this is going because I go to Garfield County.
Yep.
And we were in a UTV, and I was like, oh man, I got to fuel it up. And I was like, man, the gas station's pretty far away. I got to put it on the trailer. And I was like, wait a second.
Yep.
You can use it on county roads out there.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to drive to the gas station. This feels kind of illegal.
Yep.
Totally fine. I mean, the UTV itself is built essentially just like a vehicle.
Right.
Yep.
Go to the gas station, and I was like, there's a drive-through at McDonald's. I felt like I needed to just because the opportunity was right there.
Yeah.
But like what it made me think about was Chaffee County. I was like, where I live, I could drive from my house to, let's say, St. Elmo. And I mean, we're not talking crazy mileage. It's just up the way.
Yeah.
But it'd be an interesting conversation to, and I understand the, not on state highways and things like that. I could understand that. But there's so many people that are so close to trail access that literally have to trailer or do an illegal activity that,
Yeah, I think there's room for the discussion. I think it needs to happen. I think there's some concerns about damage to the dirt roads and stuff like that, and and then user conflicts that have to be balanced. And but I'm assuming I got hired to tackle tough issues. So what the heck, I didn't get hired to sit in the corner and hide, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's very interesting because we've been talking about it since your trip out there. Why? What is the restriction?
What are the roadblocks?
Yeah. What do you see? Like you mentioned, the can of worms. Where do you see a lot of the the hard stops on like that? This is going to be where the contention is for something like that to be introduced and potentially passed.
Yeah, I think. Road maintenance is a big one. Okay. That's huge. We struggle with it as it is just because of the way that our road and bridges are funded in Colorado.
That's really interesting.
We're restricted to the highway user tax fund, and then we dip into our PILT money too, which is the federal government's property tax payment. And that's where we can get that money. It's super restricted, and it's not a very big bucket of money. The highway user tax, or user fund, the tax on that's 22 cents a gallon. I think it's been that since 1991.
Yeah.
Or 22 cents a gallon. But and then vehicles have gotten more efficient.
Electric vehicles.
Well, and that's where there's $150 additional registration fee on those. Depending on the vehicle, is that enough to cover what that gas tax would be or not? That's debatable. I drive an EV just because it's fast.
Yeah. Get up and go.
I also drive my old pickup truck too. So I make up for any savings that the EV.
Quite the change, right?
And so it's been a kind of stagnant pot of money, and that's one reason we're talking about putting the lodging tax increase on the ballot. That's one of the only tools that the state has given us to increase that bucket. So an additional 4% on lodging that would help us pay for put another $1 million or so into the road and bridge, another 800,000 into public safety, which would be really helpful for us as we try and build the new sheriff's department building over here. And then about 800,000 that would get broken out through the municipalities for them to use for infrastructure, housing, that sort of thing. And about another $500,000 that would go back into the lodging tax fund, which is used for promoting the valley, some housing, and some childcare. So
they're with the registration with each vehicle, or OHV or UHV or whatever you want to call it, the side by sides, the the access to that's a state level when you get your sticker put on, right?
Yeah, so that registration money actually does go in, portion that goes into the HUTF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So that is collected locally and goes into, and it goes to the state, but then it comes back in that bucket.
How do other counties then, do they have a state, or excuse me, a county registration or a county stamp that they put on there for that OHV to be used on the county roads, or they do an extra tax or a permitting process for that? Or
I think there's a few different ways that it's done that I'm not really up to speed on. There has been a couple of tries at the state legislature to change some of that. Hasn't really gone very far.
The really interesting conversation with that, I just say this because I live on a dirt road, is I can understand it's an educational piece, right? Like, people that don't live on a dirt road don't understand the dynamics of a dirt road. If you're hard on the dirt road, it makes the dirt road worse. Like, all the time. If it gets wet, if there's snow, like, there's all these different aspects of it. And to me, like, the first thing you think, I think about when somebody who doesn't live on a dirt road, what's the first thing they want to do on a dirt road? Tear it up. Tear it up.
Oh yeah, man, fishtail. Pick up some.
Exactly.
All the dust.
And it's not, in the money piece, I totally understand, because I've talked to some of the road to bridge people, and they kind of champion that same thing of, like, man, the gas tax has only been 22 cents for a long time, like, and that's the only way they kind of right. And so then now the county's at a crux, right? Because, like,
we are
now you have guys that are getting hired onto road and bridge that you kind of only have this to deal with, and this is the management. Man, that's a huge undertake.
It's tough.
It's so much more than just like, UTV on the road.
Right.
Yeah. It is. It's huge. And then, making sure that there's a balance of those with user conflicts, right? And it's, again, an education thing, I think. And, I think you're always going to have people that are going to be in the hell no crowd, right?
Absolutely.
But
I didn't even think about it. Like the 4 mile area to BV, like that little piece right there, right? Like, so many people go visit that area and would have pretty quick access to in town and grab dinner, that type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's a definite pro to allowing people to access the county roads with those types of vehicles for, coming down out of camp and just grabbing a bite, or, fueling back up instead of buying their fuel somewhere else and dragging it all the way there type thing. So,
And, if you can, I think as we bring this conversation up, and we are starting the kind of background of that. I'm not sure. I'll potentially run for re-election next year, if so I might wait till after that.
Hard no.
But as we do that, it's going to be there'll be some really difficult community conversations.
Absolutely.
With a lot of emotion and a lot of folks that get pretty fired up. But if we can bring bring everybody together and have that conversation. That goes a long ways. And I think you sit down and talk to someone face to face. They're an actual person, and those conversations go pretty well instead of some Facebook rant, right? You know, or whatever.
Those go sideways. Like, it just
100.
doesn't matter whether
They're
it's
designed to go sideways, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether it's like good for the community, bad for the community.
It's not the place for that
you just
discussion.
don't read those things because boy, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you could cured cancer, and there's someone out there.
I think I'd cry myself to sleep every night if I paid any attention to that stuff.
But yeah, so you mentioned the proposition of another 4% on. So are you getting a lot of resistance or conversation, I should say, from those that have, you know, hotels and
so we're starting those conversations with the lodging folks right now. And trying to really do a lot of one-on-one conversations with those guys and help them understand how it will help their business and help us understand what those challenges will be to implementing that. So
I did sit on the Visitors Bureau meeting, and that conversation kind of was brought up, and I had to step away for a second, but when they were still talking about it, so it was kind of interesting to see that conversation, like how it could potentially hurt, but you know, the potential for helping those businesses as well, you know, move forward with, you know, the community, you know, what that extra money could do for the community as well. So
for that, and then another reinvestment into helping bring more people into the valley that are going to need lodging. So hopefully make up for any folks that decide not to come here because they think the lodging tax is too high. So
do you think there's enough like hotel, motel, VRBOs in our county to handle the amount of people that do come here? Or you see, I mean, there's a lot of people that bring their RVs and stuff like that too, but you have pay sites and stuff like that. Is there need for like a Hampton or like a bigger for the county, or
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? You know?
Just that influx of people for that.
The rest of the other days of the week, probably not. So
so there's potential for development of that could take up a lot of that tax revenue as well too.
It's actually really interesting. That was like a conversation we would have with somebody that we were talking about the airport in BV, right? And that seems to be getting quite a few more Aspen Vale.
That's the parking spot for those guys. It's pennies on the dollar compared to trying to park in Aspen, and the fuel's cheaper, all of that.
It's really attractive, honestly, right?
Sure.
Just pop over, stay, pop back over, pick up, and fly.
It seems like most of those hotels up there have been extended stay for a lot of like businesses, and I mean they're working on the gas line right now, right? That's big. That's huge. You know, keeping them busy. Keeping us busy. That's for sure.
Nice. Is there anything that you'd like us to ask you? I thought you brought up a few good things that I was nervous about even bringing up the OHV thing, but I wasn't sure. But I'm glad you mentioned it. So
I mean, there's no subject that I'm not willing to visit about. So
nice.
And I think there's a lot going on here and a lot of challenges, but I think we're, as a community, working through a lot of this stuff pretty well.
I feel like, I mean, honestly, like we're almost a test bubble for a lot of this, right? Because like, if you look at it, the Vail Valley is the Vail Valley, right? Summit County is already Summit County, right? We're on that edge where we still have to work a lot of rule and a lot of like second home / moving here full time. Like, it's really interesting, honestly, if you look at it. There's so many different conversations happening that you're like, how do you balance it all?
Right.
I mean, like that's the thing I always kind of like look at is you just kind of shoot it down the middle and go for it, or
Yeah, good question, right? And I think that's we're in a pretty big transition.
yeah.
We really are. Our communities are changing. The folks that live here are changing. We've just in the 30 years that I've lived here, we've gone from mainly mining to mainly tourism.
Right.
And we need to strike a better balance between the two, and more diversified industries and streams of income into the valley. All those things would need to be more diversified, and a shutdown of tourism from a big fire in the valley or something else going on would be really impactful to us right now. Yeah.
So I know we've kind of had this conversation offline, like manufacturing. Like,
Sure.
is there a big talk on trying to find a manufacturer to come into the county and incentivize that to bring jobs, to bring that year-round capability, or is that something that you kind of like, not quite touching on?
Yeah, it's a tricky question, right? And one that is really we're talking a lot about it. I think Poncha Springs, and especially, is really interested in bringing in some manufacturing and some outside business opportunities. The question is, can you do that and then count on the housing that you're going to need to be built?
Yeah.
Or do you need to go that direction first? What about childcare? Do we need to make sure we can supply the childcare before we go out and start talking to bigger, to these other larger manufacturers or whatever about relocating here? And it definitely is a chicken and egg question that I'm not sure anyone's fully wrapped their minds around.
Do the school systems have the capability to expand with that type of influx?
They're right at their capacity right now. The high school needs to be expanded. The junior high here is pretty tight. The school's going to need another elementary school at some point. Wow. So they're, those, you start to talk about, tens of millions of dollars for those infrastructure improvements, right? And it's one of those things, you're good up to here, and then one more kid, then you need this $20 million facility.
Right.
But that's for one kid for the next 10 years until you get up to here, and it makes sense, right? Yeah. So not easy questions to answer.
So are there potential, I mean, you said that you talk with other commissioners around the state and everything. Are there any other counties that you can kind of lean on for that type of thing, that you've seen them go through that successfully or maybe unsuccessfully at this point?
One of the great things about all of this is, like, somebody's tried it.
Right.
So there's always somebody to go out there and talk to. Our circumstances will always be uniquely our circumstances, but there's a similar situation somewhere that we can pull from and learn from.
Cool. So you're trying to utilize
for sure
that type of thing. That's good.
Yeah, it would be impossible to do that, to do this my job without some pretty substantial backup systems.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'd be curious what county out there is similar to Chaffee in this era right now. And it could be from times past, right?
Yeah.
There's a few, I think. One, is it Moffett County? Craig is in Moffett County, I think. The northwest corner of our state. They're maybe the flip side of this, they're very much like Salida was in the late 80s, early 90s, where they have the coal plants and the coal mines are shutting down, which are the major employers up there that provide really, really good high paying jobs. And they're shutting down and leaving. And, what's going to replace that? When in the late 80s, early 90s, when Climax was shutting down, the Madonna mine had shut down in 83 or 84. Great paying jobs, right? Like I was working for Cut No Slack my first winter here building houses, and I was working with a guy that had been a demolitions team leader up at Climax, making $100,000 plus a year, and was standing next to me making $5 an hour, same as me, banging nails, right?
Wow.
Tough situation for that. And I think Craig's a lot in that situation. It's interesting to talk to them about how they do that. For us, I think we're very similar to Gunnison.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, because of Crested Butte and where that's at, they're maybe ahead of us in a lot of aspects. And so I certainly talk to Jonathan and Liz and those guys quite a bit, and they're good buddies. So that's useful.
Yeah, just right over the way.
Yep. Yeah.
Actually, a really nice drive over that 306 now that it's fit.
Yes.
Since it's been paved, that's really
Oh yeah, it's great.
If you haven't done that drive,
it's worth
definitely
check it out.
Yeah, check out that 306 drive over Cottonwood Pass in the summertime. It's
Right.
And don't try to drive over in the winter.
Yeah, because you can't.
People try.
They do try.
I got to. I was at a meeting in Gunnison last summer, and I came back over super early in the morning, and there was nobody up there. And I didn't speed, but I got home really fast. It was awesome. So much fun.
Yes.
Actually, it's really interesting. This will come out well after, I imagine, but I was up there. We were looking for some goats, and it was amazing how many people are coming over that pass at 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. It was like, whoa, but also amazing views.
Yeah, just spectacular. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
I mean, definitely is why we're here.
Yep. Yeah, then you've got a politician started talking, it'd go on all night. But I do got to go feed the dog too. So.
Right. Awesome. Well, PT, I really appreciate you spending the time with us.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's really,
great.
really awesome. I do appreciate it.
Touched on a few things that I didn't expect to, and I'm glad you brought them up. So appreciate you watching, and hopefully you'll stay tuned for more to come.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. And if you like this type of content, please comment, like, subscribe.
I subscribed.
Awesome. Gotcha. Very good. Thanks so much.